Hello everybody and welcome to another video here on the CinemaSpeak YouTube channel. My name is Brad and I'm the host of the CinemaSpeak podcast, and on today's episode we've got another movie/4K review. Today we're reviewing Lewis Teague's Alligator, which is finally getting the 4K treatment from Scream Factory, and I say it's about damn time. That's right, this film Alligator, it has been long desired to get a Blu-ray release. This thing hadn't even gotten a Blu-ray release before this, and then Scream Factory just busts out of the sewer and releases this thing on Blu-ray and 4K in a beautiful combo pack. And spoiler alert, I think this is an awesome release, and I can't wait to talk about it. So like I said, Alligator is directed by Lewis Teague. It was released in 1980, and it is a classic creature feature. It is an eat-em-up, as I like to call it. I'm a big sucker for these films, so it's no surprise that I had to buy this 4K day one, even though I'd never seen the movie. I mean, this was a blind buy for me. It stars Robert Forster as Detective David Madison. You know, he's a detective. I guess you could call him an investigator. But anyway, a lot of people die in this movie. So Robert Forster is investigating a bunch of body parts that get washed up out of the sewers. We're talking arms, we're talking legs, and he thinks there's a killer on the loose. Well, there is a killer, but Detective David Madison, I got news for you. It's got 4 legs and scales and a tail. It's a damn gator. So David Madison soon finds out that there is an alligator living in the sewers, and this ain't any old ordinary alligator. It's a supersized alligator. It's one that was flushed down the toilet when it was just a little gator baby, and it has since grown up in the sewers. And not only has it grown up in the sewers, but it's also grown up in the sewers feeding on hormone-enhanced dogs that were tested on by a pharmaceutical company and then disposed of in the sewers, causing it to grow to an exceedingly large degree. Don't you hate when that happens? So these body parts continue to wash up, and several days later, Robert Forster goes into the sewer and discovers that there is, in fact, a large alligator down there. At first, nobody believes him, but eventually, people are quick to learn that there is an alligator down there. A lot of the film does take place in the sewer, but I think the film really shines when the alligator busts out of the sewer and just starts tearing up the city. This is a lean, mean creature feature, clocking in at 90 minutes with lots of kills, some pretty good gore for the time, and some really fun creature effects. Overall, it's not a perfect movie. It does get a little ridiculous at times. There are several vehicle crashes caused by this alligator that are a little comical to watch, and unbelievable that they would happen as they do. Also, tonally, it's a little weird. It seems like it's trying to have a sense of humor, but it also takes itself seemingly very seriously at times, so it's a little all over the place in that regard. But overall, it's a really fun film, and if you like these kind of films, you're going to have a good time. Obviously, very inspired by Jaws. I don't know if you can see. I don't think you can. I think it's blocked, but I do have a Jaws poster behind me, so obviously I'm a big fan. And while Alligator, not going to hold a candle to Jaws, it is a pretty solid creature feature in its own right. I think my favorite aspect of the film is the effects. They do a lot. They do a lot with puppetry, and they also have a full alligator suit where 2 men get in and control the alligator, and they use that for some shots of the full-scale alligator with people in frame. But what I found most interesting was the use of a baby alligator on a miniature set. I'm watching the film thinking that some of these shots of this alligator moving through the street and going into water look really, really good, and I was questioning how they pulled off the effects. I thought, is this puppetry? No, it's too smooth. It's also too smooth for stop motion. Is this a real alligator? Well, it is a real alligator, but the reason they're able to work it and make it feel like it's so big is because it's a baby alligator that is moving around a miniature set. So it's a baby alligator moving through a miniature street, and surprisingly, they get into this in the bonus features, because baby alligators have the same proportions as adult alligators, it looks really, really good. And when they use those effect shots, I mean, I think they work seamlessly into the film, and those are a lot of fun to watch. Robert Forster definitely carries the film. His presence brings a lot to this movie. If there wasn't anybody as charismatic in the lead role as him, it might not be as good of a film. His relationship with Robin Riker, little forced. I don't know if I really needed that, but it's fine for what it is. Certainly not a perfect film, but it is very entertaining, and if you like watching people getting eaten by alligators, well, this movie's gonna do it for you, okay? That's about all I can say. Picture quality-wise, the 4K looks amazing. Now, this is actually my first Scream Factory 4K release. I do own Shout Factory's 4K release of The Deer Hunter, but this is my first Scream Factory 4K, and I have heard a lot of people comment on some past Scream Factory releases and say that, that, there's some compression issues. I've heard some mixed things about some of their John Carpenter releases like Prince of Darkness, and some of the Halloween sequel releases did get criticized for a few issues. But overall, based on what I saw on this release and what I've heard online, this might be Scream Factory's best 4K release yet. Black levels are great on this, which is especially important because it is a film that takes place, a lot of it in a dark sewer. I thought the grain field looked very organic, just a beautiful transfer, a lot of details on clothing, faces, and the alligator as well, detail on that, the effect of that. Everything looked great. So yeah, picture quality wise, this is a highly recommended 4K disc, and honestly, everything about this disc is highly recommended, including the bonus features. So lots of new bonus features on this, which is a great addition. You've got a new interview with actress Robin Riker. You've got a new interview with director Louis Teague. You've got a new interview with screenwriter John Sayles. Now that interview is recorded remotely, so that is a little bit of a bummer, but I'm not going to knock it any points. I mean, come on, maybe the guy just didn't want to get out of his pajamas, okay? But without a doubt, the best special feature on here, and I might go so far to say, and this might be hyperbolic, this could be one of my favorite special features I've ever seen on a Blu-ray 4K release, is an interview with Bryan Cranston. That's right, that Bryan Cranston, Breaking Bad's Bryan Cranston, or Malcolm in the Middle's Bryan Cranston, if you want to go that route. Now, you might be thinking, I didn't know Bryan Cranston was acting in the movie Alligator from 1980. Well, he wasn't! He was actually a PA on the film, and his experience is really interesting to hear because, you always get interviews with the actors and the directors and, sometimes the screenwriters, the cinematographers, the bigwigs. But it's rare that you get an interview on a Blu-ray 4K that interviews somebody who was a PA. And honestly, that level of insight is really, really interesting. One of Bryan Cranston's main responsibilities as a PA was filling up the fake alligator with blood and guts that they explode in the climactic scene of the movie. Sorry, spoiler alert, the gator dies, if you couldn't figure that out. But even more insightful in Bryan Cranston's interview is his conversation about Robert Forster, where he talks about meeting Robert Forster as they're driving to set. They had everybody working on the film would park off-site and take a van to the on-site location that they were filming at. And one day, Bryan Cranston rode in a van with Robert Forster. And Robert Forster was so friendly, so kind, so genuine. And Bryan Cranston said that actually shaped his entire career going forward. It was a 20-minute conversation with Robert Forster that Robert Forster didn't even remember. It was just a part of his day, but Bryan Cranston held on to that for his entire career. It kind of affected who Bryan Cranston turned out to be. And obviously, with Robert Forster passing away several years ago, it is a bittersweet interview. It is surprisingly emotional. And of course, Bryan Cranston is a very likable, affable guy. So this isn't a dry interview. You could listen to Bryan Cranston talk about working on the set of Alligator all day long. And surprisingly, it is a pretty substantial interview. When I heard Bryan Cranston was being interviewed for this, I thought it would maybe be like a 5-10 minute thing. It's like 22 minutes long. It's a pretty good interview. What am I kidding? It's a really good interview. It felt like Bryan Cranston really wanted to be there. Like, I'm sure he got paid to do this, but it honestly seemed like he might have reached out to Scream Factory. That's how into it he actually was. Now, I don't know if that's the case, but it seems like it could have been. You've also got some old bonus features on here, and you have the television cut of the film, which is like 8 or 9 minutes longer. I did not watch that. That only is available on Blu-ray, but if you want to watch the television version of this and just a little more gator goodness, well, then they got you covered. So yeah, Scream Factory did not scale anything back with their release of Alligator. This is a highly recommended title, especially if you can watch it in 4K. And I know it's early in the year, but this is potentially in the running for one of the best releases of 2022. I like the artwork. The newly commissioned artwork looks nice. You got the slipcover. And you also have the reversible artwork on the other side here, which is always a nice little thing that Scream Factory does. And I like both versions of the artwork, so it's a win-win. There is an old commentary track on the disc as well with director Louis Teague and Robert Forster. Forgot to mention that. So yeah, great picture quality, loaded with bonus features, a pretty solid creature feature. Actually, a really solid creature feature. Not a great film, but really solid. I mean, this thing, if you're interested, I can't recommend it enough. I think I give these ratings out of 10 or something. I'd go 9.1 on this. 9.1 out of 10 for Scream Factory's Alligator. Highly recommend it. Only minor criticism, and this is just a personal thing. I like making of documentaries, and this one just has the individual interviews. Something a little more substantial, like a making of documentary, whether it's like even just 45 minutes. Could have taken this to the next level. We could have had a 10 out of 10 on our hands. But again, that's just me. I know some people like the individual interviews more because it's just easier to digest. So whatever floats your boat, all right? But yeah, check out Scream Factory's release of Alligator. Finally, not only on Blu-ray, but also on 4K. Hell yeah! But thanks everybody for watching this video. Again, my name is Brad, and I am the host of the Cinema Speak podcast. It is a weekly podcast that you can find on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify. I talk about movies like Alligator. We talk about new release movies. We talk about Blu-rays, 4Ks, TV. We talk about all that shit, okay? So make sure you find us on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe. And while you're here, subscribe on YouTube. Drop me a comment below if you've seen Alligator or what's your favorite creature feature. Let me ask you that. What's your favorite creature feature that's not Jaws? Jaws is out, but any other one is in. Let me know what eat 'em up you like. So like the video, subscribe on YouTube. Thanks everybody so much for watching this video, and until next time, I'll talk to you guys later.